From the studios of Blackwater Media in the city of Atlanta, it's time for another edition of Swamp Chat, which of course is all news, notes, and updates for everything Blackwater Media related. I'm Dr. William Lester, the creator of and the voice behind Blackwater Media, and I want to lead off by thanking the people who have helped and supported what I've been trying to build. There were, of course, many people who provided support by subscribing to the YouTube channel early on. And there are still a lot of people who discover Blackwater Media on YouTube. And I promised from the very beginning that there would always be free content for people to enjoy, both on Facebook and on YouTube. And so that will certainly continue. And there's also free content that is available on Twitter. Of course, I have to thank the Swamp Hunter Society subscribers, because you are the people who had enough faith and belief in what I'm doing to actually support it with dollars and cents. And that kind of support allows Blackwater Media to grow, expand, and be the best that it can be. And I'll talk about the subscribers or the members, Swamp Hunter Society members, a little bit later on, and what's going on there, and some changes are coming up, and it's going to be bigger, better, greater, and more enjoyment for your entertainment dollar. So let me share with you what's going on and what's coming up, and I think I'm probably going to drop a couple of stories in here for you to enjoy. But first up, I want to talk about the premium content, because this is very important for existing Swamp Hunter Society members, and also for any of you out there who are thinking about becoming a member. Okay, so I've been experimenting with delivering the premium content stories directly to the members by email. And so this kind of eliminates the need for logins and passwords and all this. And the emails include the story card artwork, which is embedded into the body of the email. So you're getting that. And in addition to this, members are receiving the material before the premium material, before the previews are released to the general public. Also, even the free content, for example, creature feature stories, are delivered to members 24 to 48 hours before the general release. Now, so far, this has worked out well, so I will continue that process for the foreseeable future. So, Swamp Hunter Society members will be getting all new material, all new releases by email, and they'll be getting them early. So there are a few more things I want to share with you, including some upcoming stories and an upcoming special release that you can be looking out for. But as I promised at the top, I'm going to drop in a story here that I think you will love. It's a Bigfoot story called Now You Know It's Real. Enjoy. I got up at the crack of dawn and drove to Larry's place to pick him up. We were going hiking along our favorite trail. It was a sunny day, but not too hot, a perfect day for hiking. Larry and I walked along the rugged path leading into the woods, chatting off as the mood struck us. The path narrowed a bit as we neared the creek. I surged out in front, listening with enjoyment to the sound of the water flowing in the creek and the chirping of birds overhead. But a strange, rotten smell drifted through the air. I wrinkled my nose as I rounded the bend and then stopped dead in my tracks. Standing beside the water of the creek was a huge, ape-like figure with a hairy body, long arms, and a flat brown face. Its eyes were round and dark, and its ears were small, and its nose was flat. Holy shit, I gasped out loud. Then Larry came up from behind, nearly knocking me over, and the creature shot off into the woods. "Hey man, watch it. Why'd you stop like that?" I said, "I just saw a goddamn Bigfoot." And he said, "What? I just saw a Bigfoot." Now, of course, Larry was skeptical about my sighting, to say the least. So I walked over to the place where the Sasquatch had been standing and pointed at the ground. A set of 16-inch footprints led off toward the trees. The strides were a good 4 feet in length, and the footprints were deep enough to be those of a creature weighing several hundred pounds. Larry crouched beside the footprints, studying them intently. I kept my eyes on the woods where the Sasquatch had disappeared. Sometimes I read they lingered in an area, watching humans with a lot of interest as we watched them. Then he jumped up and followed the footprints into the woods. I started in after him in amazement. Only an utter fool would follow such a large creature right into his home territory. And that's what we did. I trailed after him slowly, though, ready to run away at any sign of trouble. And as I did, I caught another whiff of that shit-smelling garbage. Larry called back to me, saying that the ground there was too hard for any clear prints, but it looked like it went into those bushes. And then he parted the bushes and came face to face with the Bigfoot. He let out a yell which echoed by an equally startled howl of surprise by the Sasquatch, and he took off like a rocket, heading back towards the car. The Bigfoot ran away in the opposite direction. I stood stock still, staring bemusedly first at the fleeing Sasquatch and then my friend running. At his present rate of speed, I estimated that Larry would make it back to the car in maybe an hour. I looked back at the Sasquatch and saw it jump over the creek in one leap and disappear into the trees, and then that rotten smell faded away. I shrugged my shoulders philosophically and started back down the trail towards the car, wondering if my very first Sasquatch sighting would be my last. As I got nearer to the car, I saw Larry sitting in the front, drinking his way steadily through a six-pack. I laughed to myself. The next time I told old Larry that I'd seen a Sasquatch, he wouldn't be so skeptical. Then again, knowing Larry, I wasn't so sure. Nowadays, I kind of chuckle at the memory of Larry and the Sasquatch fleeing from each other. And even though it's an amusing memory, the truth is, we were both lucky that day. All right, well, that was Now You Know It's Real. Hope you enjoyed the story. And for those of you who might be hearing me for the first time, that story is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the quality of the story content that you can hear on Blackwater Media. Okay, also, as an announcement, coming up for everyone will be Dogman Terror Anthology 3, which is a collection of 10 Dogman stories and also includes vintage radio commercials, which I think you'll also enjoy. I've done that before with different story collections because I kind of like the aesthetic of the old-time radio shows, when people gathered around the radio to enjoy music, stories, sports, but especially the action-adventure stories like, for example, The Phantom or Batman and The Lone Ranger and things like that. This is really the kind of entertainment atmosphere that I try to achieve with Blackwater Media. So as of right now, there's no official release date, so kind of stay tuned and make sure that you're visiting the website, blackwatermedia.net, especially if you haven't heard Dogman Anthologies 1 and 2, because they are both there right now for you to listen to. I have another story that I also wanted to share with you on this episode of Swamp Chat. And after I play it, I'll come back and there are a few other things that we need to catch up on. But this one is actually a very creepy little vampire story called Where Walk the Damned. Check it out. This is the first time I've told this story. I've held it in for so many years, and now I think it's time to just put it out there. For a long time, I was worried about people thinking that I was crazy. Shit. There was even a brief period when even I thought that I might have lost my mind. But I hadn't. It was only the fear. No, the sheer terror of what I'd experienced. The story goes back to the fall of 1996, when my wife and I drove down to Warner Robins for a high school football playoff game. My old alma mater was going up against another one of the state's perennial football powerhouses. Yeah, here in Georgia, high school football is huge. Now, if you're not familiar with Georgia, Warner Robins is a very small town about 100 miles south of Atlanta. The next closest town of any size to it is Macon. Anyway, the game was great. We won handily, by the way. And with a 100-mile drive ahead of us, we didn't waste any time getting back on the road. On our way to hit Interstate 75, we made some twists and turns and took a long stretch of road before we could reach the highway. We just about reached the halfway point before the on-ramp when the headlights hit something in the center of the road just ahead of us. That's when the terror began. Out there in the middle of this dark road was someone dressed in what looked like long, tattered, dark clothing, bent over a dead deer. And by dead, I mean mutilated. Now keep in mind, all of this was unfolding right in front of us over the span of seconds. I just remember that both of us kept saying, "What the fuck?" back and forth. It was beyond surreal. And then the figure stood up and partially turned toward our car. And I can tell you, it was a moment of absolute irredeemable horror. The person, thing, creature, at that moment I didn't know what to call it except a monster, glared with two red glowing eyes and flashed long fangs as it let out a hideous scream. Keep in mind, all of this was captured in the shine of the car headlights. And then, in what seemed like an impossible flash of movement, the thing dashed away into the darkness. And I mean, the way it moved was completely unnatural. I sped up, going around the dead deer, and I hit I-75 heading north for Atlanta. For the next 20 minutes, neither my wife nor I said a word. Then finally she broke the silence. I think that thing was a vampire. And then I exhaled in relief. I was glad that she said it. And all I could say at that point was, "I think you're right." That was almost 25 years ago. Since then, we've mentioned that night from time to time, only between the two of us, of course. I have to give my wife a great deal of credit. I mean, she assessed the encounter and the true nature of the thing we saw that night. Like I said before, this is the first time either of us have spoken publicly about this. The first and the last time. Of course, over the years I've read up a lot on vampire lore. And the more I read, the more I became convinced that that's exactly what we encountered on that dark road all those years ago. Okay, so that was Where Walk the Damned. Like I said, a very creepy, scary vampire story. I don't have many vampire stories. I have a few here and there that you can see on the website, blackwatermedia.net, but they're few and far between. Now let's talk about some upcoming stories. There are 3 in particular that I want to tip you off to. The first 2 will be free stories for everyone to enjoy across the social media platforms as well as the website. One is a Dogman story called It Ran on 2 Legs. And there's another story called The Drowned Man, which I kind of consider a good old-fashioned ghost story, and that will be a creature feature. Now, the third story is called Big Mama's Backyard, and this is a story that's incredibly personal for me because I'm basically telling you a story that happened to me, and it's a story that goes back to my childhood and my childhood home and a remarkable encounter that I had. And I just think that you'll find it very interesting, a little bit creepy, but just a wild, insane account of something that happened to me. Now, I can tell you right now that this story, Big Mama's Backyard, is going to be a premium story, and only Swamp Hunter Society members will be receiving the full-length version. For everybody else, the preview will be released to the public on the main site and on social media. So now is a really good time for you to head on over to blackwatermedia.net, sign up, $4.99 a month, and you're good to go. Now, you may be asking yourself the question that I get from time to time. Oh, well, if I sign up for $4.99 a month, what am I going to really be getting? How do I know that I'm going to have access? You know, what's my guarantee? And yada, yada, yada. And first of all, when you sign up, you have access to the existing archive, which is vast and deep and entertaining as hell. But when you sign up, you'll be receiving, like I said earlier, I'm trying out this new process of delivering the content by email. You will begin receiving all of the premium content from the archive, which means that, for example, you'll start receiving 2 or 3 stories with the artwork every day until you're all caught up. And at the same time, you will also simultaneously be receiving any new premium releases. So signing up today or tomorrow or next week will not preclude you from getting that pre-existing archive. So you're going to you get everything. And again, you get the early releases, even the free content. You will get as an early release. Like I said, 24 to 48 hours before the general public. Now, I've always said from the very beginning that there would always be free content available to YouTube listeners, because the YouTube people really were the first group of folks who started supporting me, subscribing, faithfully tuning in to listen to the story. So that will continue. At the same time, if you are enjoying the Blackwater Media material on YouTube, please come on over to blackwatermedia.net. Nothing is going to happen to you. Just come on over. If you like the material, consider becoming a Swamp Hunter Society member. A lot of people listen to the content on the Blackwater Media Facebook page. And again, I love you guys for doing that. But again, come on over to blackwatermedia.net. Look around. There is material on the website that you will not find on YouTube, you will not find on Facebook or Twitter or any of the other social media platforms where I've released material. The main site, everybody, is where I want you to eventually go. blackwatermedia.net. It's the home base, it's the headquarters, it's ground zero. And again, when you come on to blackwatermedia.net and start listening to the stories, you are giving traffic. You're giving website traffic, which means you're strengthening Blackwater Media. The content, the website itself, you're adding to the power, you're adding to the value, you're adding to the overall thing that I am trying to build, or that I have been trying to build since I started. So come on over. It's okay if you hear a preview on social media, you want to come on over and become a member, a Swamp Hunter Society member, so you can get access to everything. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. So let's see, is there anything else? Also, I've been kind of promoting on social media or requesting your personal encounters, your paranormal encounters, your cryptid encounters, or even UFO encounters. I've been requesting your stories, and I am continuing that request. If you have an encounter, or if you've had an encounter at some point in your life and you want to share it, reach out to me. You can email me through the Blackwater Media website. You can send me a direct message on Facebook and say, hey, I have something that happened to me. I want to share it with you. I had a guy about a week ago on Facebook who I think he had a dogman encounter. And I said, okay, well, why don't you write it up, and or I'll give you a call or something like that. And he immediately said, oh, I can't write all that. I'm not going to write all that. I was like, okay, so the only reason you said this on Facebook was to let everybody know that you had a dogman encounter, and it should really end there. I didn't understand that. It's when you do what I do with Blackwater Media, it's inevitable that you cross paths with all kinds. And, this, I suspect, is one of these types who just wants a little bit of acknowledgement, a little bit of time in the sun, letting everybody know he saw Dogman. But no, there's not going to be a story because I don't have it in me to write it down on a piece of paper or type it out on my computer. So it was really strange, and I don't know what the purpose of all that was. But if you have an encounter that you want to share, you can certainly reach out to me and do so. So, again, blackwatermedia.net, the Blackwater Media Facebook page, and the Blackwater Media YouTube channel. If you notice, there's a new Blackwater Media logo that was put into place, I don't know, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And so I'm really happy and proud about that. I want to thank everybody for their continued support. I want to say hello and welcome to all of the new people who have come in and kind of caught on to Blackwater Media. I hope you're enjoying all the content. And hey, keep listening, and I will see you on the next Swamp Chat.